And so, yeah, it's very true. And the other thing is, because of, there's two big problems with the radio here. Because, well, there's three actually. There's the distance away when you get towards Mulsanne. There's all of the trees and everything else in between the pits and there. And then finally, when it gets to race day itself, suddenly you've got every bit of Wi-Fi and electrical activity going on between the television, between everybody and their telephones and things like that.
TV cameras.
You find out it actually doesn't work very well. So we tended to have a bit of a grey zone, which was just between the first chicane, the second chicane, and then Arnage, and we didn't really speak much there.
Toyota still leads. The number 8 Toyota has just left the pits, which is why it's dropped back to some 74 seconds back at the leader. The Rebellions are 3rd and 4th. G-Drive still leads in LMP2 from Panis Barthez from the Signatec Alpine. And the rest of the runners and riders through there, with people like Dragon Speed, for example, in the pits at the moment after that brake disc problem. Then in GTE Pro, we got the Porsches 1-2. Then we got the Fords chasing, and in GTE Am, we got the Dempsey from the Ferrari from the Keating Motorsports car. Duncan.
Yeah, sorry, Toby, but just decided he was going to nip away there for a minute. Elton Julian, thank you very much. Karun says hello, first of all, so that'll cheer you up today. It looked like the car lost a brake disc there in the front left, and quite a bit of damage along with it to the hub and the caliper.
No, actually not at all. We had a puncture in the left front, quite a big puncture, all of a sudden, and we were already marginal on brakes, so we took advantage and did both.
Nice wee brake change there.
Exactly.
I like that. Thank you very much.
All right.
There you go, guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, marginal on brakes. That was definitely very marginal on brakes. And, you know, the LMP2s round here were definitely looking at that. The increased speed, you know, now when you go faster, that was quite a quick overtake into Tetra Rouge. But now when you go faster and you've got lap times of 3:24 in an LMP2 car, and you've still got 800 plus kilos of weight to stop, then temperature goes up. And you're in a position where you've got all that energy to slow down, and that goes into the brakes. So brake wear has been increasing and increasing over the last few years.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, a few years ago, it was actually quite comfortable to do the whole race without changing even the pads or disc. It was really comfy. Last year, you know, as you say, when the new generation of LMP2 cars came out, it became quite clear after the running we did in free practice and qualifying that most people would need a change.
Yep.
You tried to sort of stretch it out a little bit longer, but you know, these guys have had to because we're still 9 hours to go. It's still, you know, not a short distance left in this race, so they've had to sort of, you know, go earlier than I imagined most other teams would be thinking about.
Yeah, but yes, but then if you've got to do it, you might as well do it at some point. And if you're over halfway, then you know you're not going to be coming into the same issue again. And there's definitely something there. But you know, 930 kilos, I think, the minimum weight, and that sort of speed, and you know, it's just one of the areas where you're stretching it, because the majority of the performance increase with the LMP2 is basically on engine horsepower.
And unlike the hybrid Toyota that we see here, the LMP2 cars don't really do any lift and coast. They're able to hit their target of 11 laps without lifting and coasting. So therefore, they're not, you know, they're not really relying on just drag and air to slow it down. They come off the throttle, and you're hard on the brake immediately. You know, you don't have that period, nor do you have the actual hybrid system doing the recovery and therefore doing some of the slowing down, which immediately takes off pressure from the brakes.
Yeah, but the hybrid, you definitely do recover quite a lot there, and the second point is as well the extra weight. Top speeds are quite high on the LMP2 now as well. 330 kilometers per hour.
Well, they're actually quicker through the speed trap than the P1 cars, because the P1 cars are lifting and coasting
to get the target,
to get their fuel target. So actually, where the speed traps are before the chicane, the P2 cars are absolutely flat out.
But of course, as we know, the hybrid cars get there to that top speed quicker.
They get actually higher and then slow down. So the middle of the straight, if you put a speed trap in the middle of the straight, the hybrid Toyotas would be at their fastest point, and then from there to the end of the straight, reduce.
When I went to Shanghai a couple of years ago, down that massive long back straight, going to stand at the end there, you really got an idea and a concept of what lift and coast was. You think, it's all gone quiet. You know, there was the three manufacturers in the LMP1H class at the time, Audi, Porsche and Toyota, and it's all gone quiet, it's all gone quiet. And then the brake lights came on. And that was a big lesson, because that's a big long straight where they really are at max.
Yeah, I had a similar experience the first time I ever came here, and I stood on the pit wall and Alan drove past, and the diesel
did a wave.
And no, you did, you were rude. And you went past, and I was like, where's the sound? That was actually the first time I'd ever seen it. It wasn't here, it was actually at Sebring. It was the first time I'd seen it, and yeah, it is confusing, isn't it? Because it's, you know, it's in some ways it's not what you expect when you first see one of these cars.
The whoosh and the noise of the air passing over the car and the gearbox. I'll never forget when I went up to the Dunlop chicane for the first time. It also had an effect on Alex Wirtz when he saw the Peugeot. He was testing, he was for some reason at Spa, and the Peugeot was testing the day before he was testing or something like that. And he rang his manager up and said, get me in that Peugeot, get me in that car next year. It was like, I'll have some of that.
He's a good little wheeler dealer. Well, he's not little, but he's a good wheeler dealer. So, now the United car's in the pace with Paul de Resta, so he's going to be in 6th place now in P2.
Duncan, you've got reigning world champion with you.
No, not yet. Duncan's still beavering around down in the pits there, but we were just looking at that onboard lap. There's 1.7 seconds between Westbrook and Durrani, down to 1.1 now. And between the first car and the fourth car, there are two LMP2s in between now. And that's the battle for 5th place in GTE. Just above in 4th place is the sister Ford of Andy Prio, and that is 30 seconds up the road. And then Bourdais in 3rd place on the final podium position.
Westbrook and Durrani used to be teammates, didn't they? At Ford. So there's a little bit of history between these guys. They know each other very well. Durrani moving across from Ford to AF Corsa.
Okay, Duncan is down there at Ferrari with a reigning world champion. Duncan?
Yes, I am. I have Alessandro Pierguidi here. You've just stepped out of the car there. Quick debrief round the back. But first of all, how was the night for you?
The night is quite long, like always, but at the end we have nothing to do, not much to do. We have no passes, like we expect. I think this BOP is a joke for us. It's really a joke. I think it was better if I stay at home and play the PlayStation than come here and struggle like with the passes since the beginning. We are at least 1 second off, even more in the quali, but nothing happened. So it's like a video game. It's not a race, this one.
Okay, let's try and look on the bright side. We're into Sunday morning and the sun's coming up. What's your strategy going to be for the rest of the race?
Which kind of strategy we will have? Nothing. We have no paces, we are far behind, so nothing to do, just burn fuel and tires.
Okay, enjoy the race, thanks.
You know, drivers like that do wind me up. I understand they're frustrated stuff. Yeah, but there's a lot worse things in life to being a racing driver at Le Mans.
I'd like to take his position.
Well, yeah, you know, you still got to appreciate it. You still got to have... I understand you're not getting the result maybe that he wanted and stuff, but you still got to have a certain perspective on life, on how lucky they are.
Or you could still have a perspective on the fact that that has been in your favour on other occasions when you've won very big races, and
like
it swings in roundabouts at different times. And definitely the World Championship last year was one of the occasions of that. Yeah. So you know, I've got very limited sympathy. The one person I do have sympathy down there for is Duncan.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's. I've dealt with a lot of Italians, obviously, on 2 wheels, and it just sort of did make me smile that sometimes you just get an interview like that and they just get both barrels on full speed, banging away and firing in all directions, kicking up a media storm, but...
Yeah, but I just, you know, at the end of the day, I didn't realise that Duncan actually wrote the regulations. and did the BOP. So
yeah. You're both right. You're absolutely both right.
Do you feel sorry enough for him to take him a cup of tea to the pit lane?
No.
Okay, just checking. So the
Pipo
Ferrari.
Derani gets out of the car, and that goes back down onto the ground. That's the number 52 in 7th place.
So now this is the lap or two to watch Westbrook, isn't it? Because this is his opportunity to absolutely, you know, use a bit of free air. Maybe, I don't know if he gets lucky with traffic and has a good run, and if Derani has a bit of a tricky outlap, this could be Westbrook's chance to leapfrog that car when he has to make his own stop.
Could well be the case. Giovinazzi in the AF Corsa Ferrari. Daniel Serra is about 3 minutes behind him. As we now focus in on the Ford GT, the red one, the 69, that is Westbrook. Those LED lights that are positioned. Here we go. Let's listen in.
Fit on this lap, fit on this lap. Remember drink tube and helmet tube. Remember loosen your belts for Scott. He uses the insert.
Scott Dixon, the Kiwi, getting into the car, the leader currently of the IndyCar Championship. He's had 2 wins in a week in Detroit and Texas on a great run of form after 3rd place of the Indy 500 as well. So, you know, Scott Dixon, he's coming here to Le Mans on a high. And he is one of those. I had this conversation in Montreal, actually, the Grand Prix last weekend, and listing out the drivers who I wished we had seen in F1 at their peak. He had that test with BMW Williams at Paul Ricard, and through some of the work I've been doing with Williams Heritage, we found the run sheets from that day, and you know, he was 4 or 5 tenths quicker than Ralf Schumacher on the same spec tire and with the same amount of fuel. And okay, Ralph wasn't Michael, but he was still a Grand Prix winner, and on his day he could certainly turn it on. And the fact that Dixon rocked up, he'd never left foot braked till that day. Apparently he got in the car, he was absolutely tired. He was just jet lagged and tired because the flight from America had been cancelled, so they had to get a 3-stop strategy, get to England, then get a helicopter in from Grove, from a Seafit to Gatwick, and then across to Ricard, absolutely destroyed. Got in the car and went, where's the 3rd pedal? And then went, oh, I can't get my right foot across the brake. So it's the first time he had to left foot brake at Paul Ricard.
Well, the world could have had the Kiwi rather than Ralf Schumacher in Formula 1.
Yeah, and so to
would have
me,
made life easier for a few people.
Yeah, to me, he's one of those drivers. You know, people like Tom Christensen as well, obviously on that little short list. But yeah, Dixon would be well, you know, really high up on the list of drivers I would have loved to see have a proper go in Formula 1.
Paul Tracy had a test as well, didn't he, in a Benetton?
Yeah. There's various versions of that story. There's a Tracy version of it, and there's an Enstone version of that. How well that test went. So the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle.
Well, he had a run. That's it.
Lies somewhere in the middle, but sort of Iceland, I would have said. Cold.
Indeed.
Yeah, there's a few of those.
So there's the number 69 Ford comes in. Richard Westbrook getting out of the car. Comes off the jacks. They're taping up the front of the car there. Taping up the front of the car with the red gaffer tape because it's had some damage in some shape or form. So it's been held together with gaffer.
Have you noticed how the Ford drivers help do the belts for the driver going in?
Yes.
You don't see that with many. I don't think any other team does that.
No, they don't have a driver helper, so basically they've decided to do it themselves. And it just depends. You can have an extra person across to help the driver to change the belt safety and things like that. And they also do the drinks bottles and the radio.
Talking about Ford, Duncan has got Andy Prio with him.
I do that. First of all, Andy, happy Father's Day. You know, it's a special day here at the moment. It's Father's Day. But we did talk off air there. You had a very, very, very long night, you were telling me.
Yeah, I mean, I got in the car just after 2-ish. Harry Tinkerbell did a great job. he really brought the car forward. And yeah, I mean, I've had some good stints. We're in P4, and we're pushing. You know, yeah, but it was a long night. A very, very important stage for us to get through the night, be competitive, and now we've got a long day ahead of us. 8 hours 45 minutes to go, and we've got to get our head down and reel them in.
Right, so we head towards happy hour. What's the rest of the day looking like? What's your strategy going to be?
Well, just one thing at the moment. That's just push with all we have. I mean, we haven't got the speed, so we've got to do it on just good in laps, good out laps. You know, consistency, good pit stops. Everything's got to be tight, and everything's got to be perfect. And you know, we've got a great team, really experienced guys here, Multimatic and Chip Ganassi. So we should, you know, just keep our head down and keep pushing.
Go get some rest, buddy. I'll catch up with you later on.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, it's the 68 car now out of the pits, and that's Sebastian Bourdais that has just gone out of the car. Joey Hand into the car. So Andy Priaulx's teammate is in the car, Tony Kanaan, at this moment in time. He said it went from Harry Tinknell and then to him, and now Tony Kanaan's in there. They're in fourth place.
That Ford lineup is like the United Nations, isn't it? You've got between all the drivers and the different crews from the States and England, and you know, it is really pretty much every nationality you could imagine in that carriage.
Well, the Brazilian at the wheel. Excuse me, the Brazilian at the wheel at the moment in the shape of Tony Kanaan. They're just getting rid of the rubber pickup, the rubber that's flown off the tyre on the inside of that wheel arch. Cleaning the light, cleaning the screen. As Neil Jarni waits patiently inside the car. And now it'll bark into life with that 4.5 litre V8 behind him. Fuel still going in, and done, and on his way. That is the car in fourth position. Neil Jarni going for another 10-lap run.
So they're sort of still at 1.5-ish laps, nearly 2 laps down on their sister car, aren't they? The Thomas Laurent in the number 3 car at the moment. And that gap stayed pretty consistent since that early run of issues for the number 1 car. Obviously, Andre had the issue earlier, and then they had an electronic problem that dropped them a lap or 2 down. And since probably 8, 9 o'clock at night, that stayed quite constant. These two Toyotas have just edged away from them as the race has gone on. Now 8 and 10 laps respectively ahead of the two Rebellions. But Nakajima now 4.6 behind Kobayashi, and he's in that point where I was about to say he's at that point where the gap is small enough for him to see him in between the chicanes. Otherwise, you know, you'd come out of Tête Rouge and you look down the hill and you'd see cars who had already passed the first chicane, wouldn't you? But now you're actually on the same bit of the Mulsanne straight, and he's definitely got he's got his fishing rod out, and he's just reeling himself onto the back of his teammate.
Hooking the fish in. Going up towards Mulsanne. Leader of this race, Kobayashi.
The difference between the two as well is that the number 8 car, Nakajima, the second car, or the car behind, has done 1 extra pit stop, and that 1 extra pit stop was for the stop-and-go penalty that Sebastian Buemi got for speeding in a full course yellow slow zone in the middle of the night.
So a 3:19.8 for Nakajima last time round, 2.1 seconds faster than Kobayashi, which could be a bit of traffic obviously in that, but the gap is really come down.
We're going to get a bit of traffic here though, Toby, because that first car's not a problem because he'll go around the outside, but the second one he'll catch in the middle of these two corners. Here we are, had to lift off. So that's now Nakajima able to squeeze up a little bit closer. Not too much, he got held a little bit as well.
Pizzitola there, the leader of LMP2 as well, going around that GT car. It's definitely daylight out there. You can see the bright lights, but all around the track now you can start to see daylight. The rubber offline, the build-up of rubber offline is, you know, it gets to the point. In the middle of the night, it starts to become a real problem because, you know, you can't actually avoid the rubber. You have to go offline on various occasions to overtake slower cars. You have to go offline to you know, get out of the way sometimes, although you try to avoid that. But it is really tricky. And the pickup here, when you get the pickup on the tires, it's a nightmare, isn't it? It takes a good third of a lap, maybe more, to just clear the tires and clean them up. And it feels like marbles the first corner you get to after you've driven over that pickup. It is so tricky to have any form of grip underneath you.
And pickup tends to breed pickup if you don't clean it as well. You know, you run the curves and you get that little bit more that just adds to it, and then becomes a vibration. But the important thing is being able to clean it. The gap now down to 3.2 seconds. So a little bit more traffic to play there. I think it's been more Kobayashi not having the rub of the traffic as opposed to Nakajima just being quicker. But 3.3 seconds as it is. We've got live update on our timing screens here, so it changes per small sector. That's one thing, you know, you don't recognize is how much it does the altitude change on the actual Mulsanne straight. Certainly not called the Mulsanne flat, because it's not. And from this moment in time, you're actually going uphill into the second chicane and then continue uphill all the way to the top of the hump at Mulsanne before it drops down in towards Mulsanne Corner. But then there's a slight rise in the braking area of Mulsanne Corner again.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I do when I come to a track for the first time is I try and ride it on a bicycle, but leave it in one gear. So you feel some of the inclinations through your legs when, you know, when the road's obviously going up and down, you immediately feel it, which, you know, I think sometimes on a track walk, you don't necessarily feel the small inclines and the small camber changes. And you're absolutely right. Like even these little bits here through Indianapolis and stuff, you know, the road does go up and does dip away, and there are all these subtle little
nuances.
Yeah, and you know, just minor elevation and camber changes in the road, and the crown in the road as well, Alan.
Yep.
You know, down the Mulsanne is more prominent than on any other street track that I've raced on.
Because that's a French regulation and law that there's got to be a certain crown in the centre of the road to allow water drain off.
Right, okay. There you go.
And I had a tweet earlier from, forgive me, I can't get to it at the moment, but somebody said, oh yeah, I drove around the Le Mans circuit the other week whilst it was obviously open to the public. I cannot believe how banked Indianapolis is.
Oh yeah.
You can see it's banked on the TV, but when you're there in real life, you really get a sense of how banked it is. And he was really impressed. Change of a wheel. Was that a wheel being passed in?
That's
for Nicolas Lapierre?
I think there's a, yeah, the seat belt was caught underneath the hands as well, and so the seat belt must go over the hands device system to hold it into place, but it looked like in the driver change it was caught underneath on that left hand side. The driver can't obviously see what it is, and so in general you need to have that
He's still
confirmation.
not happy. He's still not happy though.
No, it's not connected on. His hands isn't connected.
His hands there's been a bit of a rush to get him in, because his hands, as you say, the clips went on the back of the crash helmet.
There's the leader coming into the pits. We saw his team, Jean-Eric Verne's pits told us he's in the car, and we saw the team preparing what they were going to be doing at this stop. Cleaning of the screen, the windows, the mirrors, check of the brakes.
When they clean the screen with the stuff, it's pretty good. You don't get a few streaks and smears. It's pretty good.
Well, it depends on the stuff you use, but generally, yeah, it's quite good. You've got one rag to put it on, one rag to take it off.
And it's much better than using the screen wash.
Yes.
That just smears the windscreen.
Yeah.
So Thomas Laurent, by the way, is again down at purple sector 1 on that low fuel coming in lap. You know, he's gone fastest of anybody in the first sector, so yeah, the track's starting to come alive now, isn't it? We're starting to just the dew is starting to disappear, and as the sun will come up 6:25 in the morning local time.
Oh,
what's
hello.
that? That's a marker board.
Yeah.
He's run over a marker board somewhere.
No, he's gone in backwards. He's had a spin and gone in backwards to
It's
it.
lodged onto there's fences that sit underneath the rear diffuser, and it's lodged onto the back of that.
Yeah, predictably, he's come into the pits. So the number 56 Project 1 car has just come in. Nobody in the garage ready for him. It's a bit of a late call, obviously. That was at Arnage that we saw.
Oh, change to
Toyota.
the lead. Change to the lead. The car 8's into the lead coming into Mulsanne corner. Nakajima has taken the lead from Kobayashi.
So then the race is back on. The number 8 retakes the lead of this Le Mans 24-hour race. 8.5 hours to go. And now the race starts, does it? That number 8 was over a minute, 2 minutes behind. 2 minutes behind the number 7.
Yep.
And through Fernando Alonso and Kazuki Nakajima, they have reeled in that sister car. There you have it.
Got off the corner very, very well there in comparison to Kobayashi. Got the power down, good acceleration.
So as Alonso was up against Lopez before we saw these two get in. Lopez, I think, did a stint longer, didn't he, after Alonso got out, slightly out of sync on the driving strategy there by about a stint. But now, Kobayashi, he's really gone away. It's quite a bit of understeer in that number 8.
He went
number
in
7 car.
Yeah, he went in a little bit deep into the right-hander and had to come down an extra gear to be able to get it through in the first part of Porsche. Here was the overtake. He moved out the way for that. Kobayashi he didn't take the appropriate line, or the line you would normally take, and lifted and moved out the way to allow it to happen.
That's a phone call there, isn't it? There's been a phone call there.
Put it like this, it's not the place when I would be overtaking my teammate that I would normally want to do it as the dive down the inside into Mulsanne. It was a bit of a surprise when it happened. And so it shouldn't really have been a surprise for Kobayashi, because, as you say, it was preordained.
Yeah, he's already lost 2.3 seconds, Alan, in that half lap now that we've seen so far. As you say, we've got commentary, we've got timing screens in our commentary box that update quite regularly around the lap. And you can see it there on our screen. There's a very visual illustration. He's behind the Corvette down the back straight, but the number 8 car is now pushing on in the lead.
Up behind the Fords as he goes on to the Mulsanne straight, the leader of this race. 2.5 second lead ahead of Kamui Kobayashi.
Just a little bit of information. Ginetta, sole remaining Ginetta, it wouldn't start after its pit stop, so just been brought back into the garage.
They've got a lot of fans here this weekend, I noticed, by the way. I went for a little wander earlier on in the fan zone to see some friends, and when you walk around there are a lot of fans in Ginetta t-shirts and caps who have come to cheer them on.
He's having a big chat on the phone there, isn't he, Kazuki Nakajima? You saw his left hand gesticulating as he was saying something on the radio. Whether or not that will be repeatable, whether or not it's some interesting information, but that's quite unusual to see him do that. Look at the speed.
Three laps to go, please. 3 laps to go. People will say our car is faster, so don't worry, you don't need to push too much.
Yeah, you don't need to push too much, but yellow flag at Indianapolis on the right-hand side. There was an LMP car. Didn't see which one it was stuck in the gravel. He's came into the right-hander, into the left, and just gone straight in.
There it is, the 47.
The Valour Corsa car, and that nose is well and truly off, isn't it? But he won't be able to reverse out of there. He's trying to spin the wheels. That's why those rear tyres are now well and truly dug in.
They've had a tough week, haven't they? This was the car that went flying through the air at the first chicane earlier in the week, and then Felipe Nasser was off at the first Mulsanne chicane earlier in the race. So
there's going to be a slow zone into that part of the world, and that slow zone will kick in about 20 seconds time or so, where the guys will pick it up, move it, get it out of the way, and the cars on the racetrack will have to be coming past at some 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour. That slow zone will start in 5 seconds time, so wait for that graphic to kick all the way through. People are waking up. It's quite chilly here. It's quite chilly here. People realizing that they're on TV. As we come back to the start-finish line, it is still a 1.5 second lead of Kazuki Nakajima over Kamui Kobayashi.
Grandstands are starting to fill up, and the people waking up from their tents and filing into to this part of. Yeah, it is a great atmosphere out here, because people sort of just work on their own time, don't they? You've got time to watch a bit of the race, then have a bit of sleep, and then come back out.
Oh,
the BMW.
Right puncture. It's flapping away, and then some. I can hear the under tray completely destroyed. Alexander Sims.
And the rear wing looks a little bit distorted as well.
Yes.
He's had a...
Has he had an off?
I wonder if he's had an off. Yeah.
He hasn't had a coming together with that 47 car, has he? Doubt it. Who knows?
No, that car was off a long time before he's now at the Porsche curve, so he's not that far away from it.
Duncan, you're going to get a very smoky and a very smelly BMW 8 Series coming down your way in a few moments' time. So Alexander Sims, these boys are literally getting their crash helmets on. They're going to have about 10 seconds, 15 seconds notice before he comes in, and that is damage. Look at that, and here's why.
Porsche.
Oh, he's going to have a moment. In he goes. It was just enough to push that bodywork into the rear tyre, and
he's lost it very early in the right-hander of Porsche. He hasn't got to the second kink. It's like he's been offline on the right, Karun.
I'm wondering if he's dropped a wheel into the grass. You know what I mean, when he's brought the car back.
Yeah, but there's a lot of damage also on the left-hand side. There's a lot of rubber marks on the left-hand side. How did that get there? Look at all that rubber marks in front of the guy.
He's hit the barrier, I think, on the left-hand side and then bounced across the track to the right, possibly.
Yeah.
Good one. Good call, Alan. Spot on. No, you're more right than wrong on that one. You're more right than wrong. That's a great call. So that's going to be that BMW into the garage for the second time. It had a damper change together with its sister car.
That was in 9th place, that BMW. Had a chance of going forward.
And 9th place with good pace as well, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
They've been going quickly in this race, so that is a real shame. And Alexander's normally a very reliable pair of hands, so that's quite uncharacteristic, actually, to see.
Very much so.
To see that error.
Mechanic removed the door. You just saw how light it was. He literally handed it to a colleague as a new door was handed to him. The mirror had been knocked off. So a new door going on. As we've got this slow zone as the Villorba Corsa car gets retrieved and out of the way. It looks like it is out of the way, is it? Yeah, I think it is, because it was on the escape road. Now it seems to have gone, as the slow zone will be finishing just as they come round the right-hander. And then they get underway here on that white line. And there is the number 47 limping back. Let's hope that no bits of carbon fibre sparks coming off the front right wheel. It's probably got a puncture as these guys get released. 8.5 hours to go here. There is the number 7 Toyota of Kamui Kobayashi, second in this motor race, but only just half a second behind his teammate. This is Le Mans for 2018. Look at how close these two Toyotas are. And there you have the damaged number 47 car limping it back. Oh, there's bodywork underneath that front tyre.
Yeah, and the front tyre's not turning at all. It's just dragging along the ground, so the spark shield seal will be, because the rubber compound of the tyre will be worn away, and it will be the steel belt that's sparking off the ground. BMW here, Alexander Sims goes in on the, hits the left-hand side and then spins across to the right. That's where the damage came from on the left and then on the right. Bit of a lazy sort of slide into the gravel, really. Sort of like a ping pong ball.
Quite a bit of a squish back there. There's the initial hit. That's the... yet, will they be able to get new bodywork onto that? Has the mounting point been moved? Has it been damaged? They can only just get the tyre off as people try and keep warm. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, they've managed to get back in. The front bodywork, they've got to get it into the carriage, haven't they? They're struggling to get it off the car. They've obviously one side's fully ripped off, but there's a lot of damage there on the front of that car. It's been an expensive week for that team, unfortunately, with the amount of body damage that they've done. With the
had more hits than the Beatles, I think, those guys.
Good line.
Well, that's courtesy of George Franchitti, actually.
Won't be much to be salvaged out of that one. You know, the Orica guys have got a... it's not even liveried up. It hasn't even had the sticker. And there is the JMW Ferrari, Jeff Segal at the wheel. He's been dragged out of the gravel. He's still in the car.
Well, there's a lot of action going on down here, and Duncan's got Alexander Sims in a wee second. Duncan, I think you've got Alexander Sims in the BMW that went off at Porsche.
Yeah, I do. Thank you very much, Alan. First of all, Alexander, are you okay?
Yeah, fine, thank you. Fine.
And things are looking not too good down here right now.
No, I think that's race over for us, unfortunately. I don't really know what happened. Went through the corner and had a snap. All I can assume is that maybe some oil was put down by somebody, because I went through that corner completely normally. And yeah, it got away from me. But I mean, a car went off at Mulsanne, a car went off in Indianapolis, and then I went off at Porsche Curve. So I don't know if someone was dropping something ahead of us, but it caught me out entirely.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're okay, and bad luck.
Cheers.
There you go, guys. Bit of a disaster down here.
Yeah, that rear right, they could barely get that rear right tyre off that BMW, so it's obviously had a big whack. It's obviously had a big whack. No livery on the front of the number 47, no livery on the engine cover of the number 47. Jeffrey Segal is going to get airline points. He's been up in the air for so long in that Ferrari.
He's waving at them to put him down, but
quite.
They don't
want to.
They don't want to. They're taking. It's quite an unnerving feeling, isn't it, when you're in the car dangling in the air? Have you ever had that, Alec? Because I remember in Formula 3 at Croft, they dropped me. And they picked,
funny, that.
That was not funny, no. When they did the damage, yeah. The car
Take a look here. Box is lap and pit confirmed. Fuel tires, driver change to Sebastian. Fuel tires, driver change to Sebastian.
So the lead car going to come in this lap, but yeah, no, it's not very pleasant when they drop you off one of those things.
Are you suggesting that Alan hangs around?
I've got nothing to say.
McNish speechless. You win 10 points there, Karun.
No, I think it's you win 10 points. It's nothing to do with me. I asked a sensible question. Did it ever happen to him? And then you came up with that.
I'm just bemused by the conversation. But there we go, out to the full course yellow and or the slow zone area. Coming up towards Porsche curves. So it'll be a full release of the hybrid boost by the number 8 car, not by the number 7 car, because it's got to finish the lap. It won't be coming in this time.
Got a bit of traffic, haven't they? And behind that Ford, he'll go easily around that car there.
Yeah, but
gotta be careful.
Yeah, Nakajima got sucked into the back of the 67 there a little bit.
The number 7, I mean, you could see in some ways the effect of following the other car. As soon as he gets too close to that number 8 car, the understeer kicks in through the Porsche cars, and he's just not able to carry as much speed as he would like.
It's funny, I remember we struggled badly with our car behind certain LMPs. Not every LMP, but certain cars, and we had massive issues. And sometimes it was understeer, sometimes it was oversteer, where the rear of the car would be very unstable. And so that was another part of the build-up of the picture that you would have through the course of a racing season, of which cars you could do, or where you could follow with them.
Sebastian Buemi getting in. Already the door is shut, the belts that he can at least position.
Terov coming off the windscreen as well.
Mechanics leaning in, drinks bottle going in, radio plug going in. Connect the drinks at the front. Yes, no, he hasn't yet.
This is
going to get cracking. He's got a race to win.
This is a good time to do the pit stop while the slow zone is out. So the number 8 car is going to benefit from this, because that slow zone will clear quite quickly. And as soon as it does, and when the 7 car needs to pit, they will struggle a little bit, I think, because it will be under green conditions. So again, the balance swinging towards the number 8 car.
Still got that slow zone. Yeah, still got that slow zone from the entry into Mulsanne corner, all towards the Indianapolis left-hander, right and left-hander. We're going to have another slow zone at Marshall's post 16. No, that's in position. That's in position.
But actually, we haven't seen the incident for that. So the earlier one was Indianapolis for the number 47. So we don't actually know why we have a slow zone here.
Correct.
For this one.
Correct.
Hopefully we'll find out soon. Oh, that's been removed now. So it's been cleared. The message just come up on our timing screen here. So it's going to be green. And then that's what, as I say, you know, the number 8 car has benefited by pitting while there was a slow zone, and the number 7 had to go slowly, effective, you know, at 80 kilometers an hour. The SMP car, Toby, being pushed in, the LMP2 SMP car. So they've really had a tough week, haven't they? 14th in class, Norman Nato in the car at the moment, and clearly enough of an issue there that it's had to be wheeled in to the garage.
Smoke you can see in the distance. I hope that's from a barbecue, rather just on the inside of that Mulsanne corner, or something. But yeah, that was a strange bit of smoke. Maybe it's just a bit of a small cloud of smoke after a lock-up in the very last minute into that right-hander.
I tell you what it takes me back to one of my first night shifts here, and coming down this straight as I was heading towards Indianapolis, there was a massive amount of smoke, and my first thought was somebody's engine's blown up and there's going to be a load of oil, and I backed off and braked early for Indianapolis, thinking I'm just going to be careful here. But there weren't any yellow flags or anything, so it was a little bit odd. And as I went through Indianapolis, you could just smell the burgers and the sausages and the barbecues happening. And the smoke had wafted across the track to a point where you couldn't actually see the corner. It was unbelievable.
Slow zone speeds under investigation is a message appearing on our data screens. Who has been going too fast? Who has maybe arrived at the scene of the limited speed too quickly? Here is the leader of this Le Mans 24 hours into the pits. Not looking like a driver change. Mechanic walking around with those very powerful LED torches just to look at the brake discs, check the pads. Kamui Kobayashi in the car. Now, Karun, you brought something up off air a moment ago about the fact that, well, you know, the number 7 Toyota was faster than Fernando, rather than Fernando is faster than you. And Kobayashi, you say, didn't go to the podium in Spa. That had passed me by. because he was a bit annoyed, should we politely say.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't at Spa, and I'll be honest, I didn't actually see the race, but there was a few stories floating around the paddock that he, in particular, and the other two drivers as well, weren't happy bunnies because they believe that they had the pace to win, and for various reasons didn't have the opportunity to. And I don't know, maybe you could look for a picture of this podium at Spa, and we'll quite easily find out whether he was on it or not. But I was told yesterday by someone in the paddock that he shall we say, chose not to. He chose that as a bit of a way of showing his displeasure. On board here with the number 69 car, Scott Dixon, the Kiwi. And this is actually one of the closer battles we've got out on track. And Dixon now 4.5 seconds behind Antonio Giovinazzi, the Le Mans rookie. And he's done a veteran of 2 Formula 1 Grand Prix with Sauber. And at the moment, so Kobayashi's come out of the pits, and by pitting under green flag conditions versus Buemi pitting under, Nakajima pitting and then swapping to Buemi under the slow zone conditions, the gap has gone from 4.5 to 18.2. And in fact, it was less than 4.5 actually, wasn't it? It was like they were nose to tail because of the slow zone. They'd got to 0.5. So in effect, Kobayashi and the 8 and the 7 car have lost 18 seconds by. And that is a clear differential.
Right then, the wonders of fast internet in the commentary box. Karun, you're looking at a picture of the Spa podium. 3 drivers on the right, one of the Rebellion cars, 3 drivers on the top step. That, of course, being Fernando Alonso together with his teammates in the shape of Sebastian Buemi and Kazuki Nakajima, and only 2 people on the left. There it is in black and white. He didn't go to the podium because he was not HP about life.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't want to make a big point about it because, as I say, this is all just paddock rumor and something somebody mentioned to me in
not rumor.
Conversation yesterday.
It's not rumor. He didn't go to the podium.
No, but the reasons, I'm saying the reasons behind it, something somebody mentioned to me. But yeah, at the moment, it's not panned out well for them, and the number 8 car back in front, Giovinazzi here. He's starting to come under pressure because Dixon. I do think that the Ford, when the track temperature is up, I think the Ford seems to have more pace than some of its rivals. Early on in the race, when it was hot, they were going along with the lead Porsches, who have been the absolute benchmark in GTE Pro this week. And as soon as we got a little bit of drizzle and the track temperature came down, then the BMWs came alive, and I think the Porsches edged away. But as the track temperature will start to come up, I think the Ford could start to come into play. And Joey Hand in that number 68 car at the moment, which he shares with Dirk Muller and Sebastian Bourdais, 25 seconds behind the 91 car and still on the lead lap. Okay, he's 2 minutes 55 down on Kevin Estre, but still on the lead lap. And that is critical because all it takes is a slow pit stop or a penalty or something to go wrong for the 92 car, and all of a sudden the 91 and the 68 Ford in 3rd place could bring themselves into play.
Andre Lotterer back in the number 1 Rebellion. Mechanics trying to get a little bit of sleep. People on the Ferris wheel, anybody? Well, one guy's going up at least. That Ferris wheel now been moved back somewhat. Families here at Le Mans. Guys that have been coming for years. Youngsters, the future of motorsport now also coming here. And these mechanics who've worked their way through the world of motorsport, enjoying being parts of the biggest endurance race on the planet. There is the number 26 G drive car. That is Antonio Pizzitola. Pizzitola from down south in France, Montpellier. Saw a stage of the Tour de France there, I did one day.
Wow.
Useless piece of information number 28 for you there, Karun.
No, but I am very jealous. That's been one of my bucket list items, to go watch a tour of the station.
Oh, you've never been yet?
No,
Oh, you've got to go. You've just got to go. But that was a super good day and a lucky day for me, because done 7 Dakars working for the organisers, and my boss always said, "Oh, you're into cycling, Toby?" I said, yeah. He said, "If ever you want to come along to the Tour de France, let me know." And I rang him up some years later and I said, "Hey, Jan, you remember you said to me when we were having breakfast once in Mauritania on some dusty morning in 2004 or something or other?" And he said, "Well, I don't actually, but anyway." And I said, "You said if I could come along to the Tour de France." So I said, "Yeah," and he put me in the red car in the back of the peloton. It was just a wonderful day.
Are you still friends with this man?
I am indeed.
Whoa.
You need to be bigger friends with me, though.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to have to be your bag man, I think, for the next...
Yeah.
Would you like a cup of tea, Toby?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a wonderful day. Long day, but a wonderful day. Boiling hot. Montpellier, we went further south. Yeah, I can't remember. It was just brilliant, just brilliant. And I had first been to watch a stage of the Tour de France when I was about 16, when I was cycling and doing quite well at it. And we went back every year. We sort of twice on a family holiday in each trip to France. The days of Le Mans, Steve Bauer, La Vie Claire, in the early look pedal days, just after Stephen Roach had won the Tour in 80. Oh, don't get me started! Don't get me started! You need to follow Classic Retro on Twitter. You'll love it if you're into sort of retro cycling.
Right, now should we get back to motor racing?
We will indeed.
Because you and I could go on about this forever, couldn't we?
Yeah,
especially with the tour coming up. We could we can get into all sorts of conversations here, but let's get into what's happening on track. Nicolas Lapierre in the Signatec car, running third at the moment, a former winner here, of course, in LMP2 with KCMG, and he's an experienced hand, Nicolas. He's now raced here in different categories for many years now. He knows the circuit like the back of his hand. He's done a lot of testing for Orica over the years. He's got well, he's managed by Hugh de Schonack effectively, and de Schonack has steered his career and helped him to get into Peugeot and get into Toyota, and now he's found his way into various drives in LMP2. He's just done the personal best lap for that car, 3:28.6, so that's a good bit of pace from Nicolas Lapierre.
The IDEC Sport car in 4th position in LMP2 gets on its way. IDEC also having a yachting team up their sleeve as well. So branching out into all sorts of different forms of world sport.
You're full of fun facts today. This is great.
I seem to have, what little sleep I've had, I don't know what it's done to me.
Yeah, but bad news for Alexander Sims at BMW. That car's still in the pits, Toby, after that little incident. Well, not little incident, but spin at Porsche. Right, Duncan's just come to us in the pits saying that car is done, so it's not going to rejoin the race, which a little bit surprising in some way, because it wasn't a big hit, was it?
Yeah, but when they took that rear right wheel off, the mechanic couldn't get it off. I wonder if the mounting points for the rear right suspension had been skewed somewhat, and it wasn't right. Although, where are they going to affix the bodywork to if it's just had a bit of a crimp? I hear what you're saying, and I know where you're coming from, but it was maybe once they take the bodywork off, it was...
Yeah.
What was going on? Duncan, have you got an idea of what was going on? Well, could you see it all?
I was in the garage, Toby, yes, and they basically, 2 engineers bent over, looked inside where the bootleg would be, and that was it. Straight away, the decision was made. They looked over to the pit wall and then the cut-throat sign. So it was very quick decision made. The car then went down onto the dollies. It was pushed to the right-hand side of the garage, hard against the wall. And that's when I then had the word with Alexander Sims, and he told us that that was then done for the day. That car would not be rejoining the Le Mans 24 Hours.
because it went into the safer barrier. That's the terminology for it. You know, that sort of not a hard metallic barrier, but the NASCAR oval American sort of safer barrier that absorbed some of the energy, but it was enough to give it a bit of a push through.
That's an interesting sleeping arrangement. What is that? Is that some form of mat, like a yoga mat?
Yoga mat.
Yeah, people traveling with all sorts of bits and pieces that they can carry over their shoulders, in their backpacks, and blankets and sleeping bags and all sorts. We're seeing as mechanics.
TDS
also,
supporting guy there asleep.
Yeah, yeah. Also, you know, lots of kids around, isn't it? Which is, you know, a fair play to them who come out here in their absolute droves and just soak up the atmosphere and spend the weekend at a very young age camping out there, just enjoying the motor racing.
It's a week-long festival, isn't it, with a motor race at the end of it. It's a way of getting away. There's quite a few, you know, lads here having a bit of a weekend, having some fun. You see all the pictures of the campsites, of the barbecues, of the empty beer bottles, should we say, made into the structures, the triangles, the shapes and sizes, with all the dark green glass bottles. It's good fun. The whole drive down, stickering up your car, getting a 200 quid car. Did you see the Austin Allegro in the JPS livery with the wing on the back? There's a picture floating around Twitter somewhere,
okay.
And it's just spot on. The livery, somebody spent quadruple the amount of money on the paint job than the car was actually worth, because it's an Allegro.
Yeah.
But what a superb job.
Yeah, but I was wandering around the campsite yesterday evening just for a little look, and you know, I saw like supercars of Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Porsches parked up next to the tents in the campsite. And that's, you know, the fans here, it doesn't matter how much money they've got or how successful they are in their day-to-day lives in radio.
Yeah, okay. We should really think about splitting off the tyres.
We should. It's difficult to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't fully catch that either. We should really think about looking after the tyres.
Thank you, Duncan.
You know, I mean, the pink pig in the garage having a cup of tea.
I'm actually familiar with that pig. Don't you start, Cullen. Don't you start.
I have so many jokes for that.
Yeah. Because you get them from IKEA, and my little lad's got one. He's got the same one.
Do you try? You know, do you steal it from him? Do you wrestle it?
No.
Because you seem to be a pig fan.
No, he's a fan of the animals, and that's one of his favourites. And I sent a picture to back home. Oh, hello, the number 91 Porsche, Ricard Leitz, the Austrian, straight lines, the Dunlop chicane. I sent a picture back home, and my wife said, "Ah, yes," and showed it to my little lad, and he recognised the pink pig in the pink garage. Now there is Ricard Leitz, as I said. He's behind. Oh no, it's an LMP2 car. Apologies, I thought it was another vehicle. Now, what's happening here? Somebody's going to run on. They're going to run out of road. Oh, bodywork flying off and going over. That's what hurts marshals. That's, you know, it's in a blink of an eye, and something not very heavy but very sharp with sharp corners can really do you some damage. Ooh, it's horrible to see that kind of thing happen. In the meantime, as we ride on board with Ricard Leitz in the 956 liveried Porsche 911 RSR, somebody who drove a 911, was it last year or the year before? I know for sure. It's Peter Dumbrek who's rejoined us here in the commentary box.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Did you have a good sleep?
There's quite noisy cars and stuff going on. I don't know what was going on. So, yeah, on and off, on and off. Yeah, I'm just surveying the board here to see if anything much has happened, and we're looking at the GTs, not all that much.